I'm on the movie, been the foundation. It's time to move. 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 Yeah, it's time to move. 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 It's time to move.
Hello, my beautiful people. This is R from DJR Union, and welcome back to the channel. And if you clicked on this video, you know that just like me, you adore or love playing Esper Sisters. And as you know, and that's what we discussed, or what I discussed since the beginning of this channel, I love Esper Sisters. I love Esper Sisters. I love how the deck plays. I love everything it's about. I love Tatsumaki. I love Fubuki. D hates the deck, but I absolutely love the deck. And because I love the deck, I love playing the deck so much in local tournaments. And as such, I've been playing the deck through a lot of the sets that came to fruition. Like I said, I've been playing it through Black Clover, playing it through Full Metal Alchemist, playing it through Attack on Titan, and even am currently playing it through Rurouni Kenshin. And as you don't already know, or probably already know, you know that we are in the middle of regionals. And with the next regional coming up here in Florida, specifically in Orlando, you best believe I'm gonna try my best to get a spot into this tournament to be able to compete. And if we can't compete in the main tournament, you best believe we are going to be competing in these side tournaments that they have to offer. And as such, I want to discuss a little bit of the changes that I'm making with the deck, as well as a little bit of tech that I feel still will be important for you guys, for those of y'all who still do play Esper Sisters and plan to bring Esper Sisters to the next regionals event. So as you know, we're going to be discussing about like the key things, the dominating things in this meta, and what Esper Sisters does very well, and a little bit of the weaknesses that Esper Sisters has, so that way you are able to prepare when bringing this deck to compete against the other top tier decks. So let's take a step back and let's move on and actually discuss and break down the changes that I not only made to the deck, but also the key strategies that I'm going to be using when taking this deck and trying to compete at that competitive level. All right, guys, so I have before you is the full layout of the of our Esper Sister deck that we ended up building. Of course, if you seen our earlier video, you'll know what the Esper Sister deck looked like before. If you don't remember what that deck originally looked like, I'll have a quick little picture up here of what the deck looked like before. There wasn't not much changes, as well as there will be a link not only to the new deck list, but also to the original deck list down in the description box below. So, of course, as you see the deck before you, also you see how I continue to try to bling out this deck as much as possible. We're still missing a couple of key pieces to fully bling out this deck. Of course, the most expensive pieces right here. But of course, we got a couple of other nice little bling bling here. You know, we got to have our nice little starter deck APs right here. Be very, very proud of pulling these. But yeah, enough about talking about how pretty the deck actually looks like. So let's actually start going into the actual meat and potatoes. So yes, you want to play this deck at the regionals, at the competitive level, and you want to be successful with this deck. Well, the first thing we have to do is, first off, I do apologize about the glare, but yeah, the first thing that we have to do is consider what are we going up against? What are the meta decks and what are the meta decks consist of? So we already know we have Roy Mustang, Red Kenshin, Purple Kenshin, Red Asta, Boogie Woogie, Sakuna, Purple Bleach, a little bit of Code Geass here and there. So we have a set variety of cards that are decks that we're going to be seeing when completing or competing at that level. So through our research, we were able, at least for me, I was able to separate it to two key factors that make these decks so dominant in the meta. And that's factor number one, the deck is very good at removal. It has a lot of removal. It has removal beyond its simple kill spells in the form of either character raise or other types of event cards that are able to perform other types of removal. We also have the second aspect of the meta, which is the speed, like things like Red Kenshin, to be able to just get their engine off and actually start swinging as early as swing their immediate damage as early as turn 3, but also getting damage off as early as turn 2 to put yourself so far back and putting them so far ahead that you don't know what you have to do to keep up. So of course, like I said before, we have intense amounts of removal and intense speed. So how do we beat that? Well, if we want to beat intense removal, we need to be able to have the ability to be able to recover from having our characters removed from the field. So being able to rebuild the follow-up turn immediately, or building some type of resilience, is one aspect that's going to help to be able to solve the issue of going up against high removal style decks. And we go up against the speed styles, as I say, Kenshin, Weenie Rush, or like say a Red also, where these decks are highly are super fast and super quick at getting their engine off. We need to be able to slow them down. We need to be able to play key cards to be able to slow them down, to buy ourselves that extra 1 or 2 turns, be able to get that easy damage in, and be able to turn the quarters or change the course of the match. So with knowing that we have to be able to rebuild and be able to slow down our opponent, I feel as though that Esper Sisters is really, really good at performing both of those functions and both of those functionalities to be able to compete at the high level. So So now comes the next question is, how do we rebuild? How do we slow down our opponent? So let's start off with the first aspect against the heavy removal decks is being able to rebuild. And I narrowed this down to a couple of key cards that gives us a very good probability of being able to rebuild from having our board either completely ripe or somewhat disrupted from our original game plan. And those key cards, of course, are going to be Fubuki, aka Hellas Blizzards, Terrible Tornado, aka Tatsumaki, the 3 energy cost Fubuki, Hero, and most importantly, Esper Sisters. So let's start off with the two, what I feel are the 2 main key cards is Fubuki and of course Esper Sisters. So we know what Fubuki does, and for those who don't know what Fubuki does, it basically is that once this card is rated, it's an immediate draw to. So just off of just rating this card alone, you are able to refuel your hand to find more answers to be able to deal with your opponent on your upcoming turn. Not only is this card is able to perform that, but it also has to activate main effect when on front line to be able to pitch 2 cards to be able to guard any card you need from your sideline. So this card literally gives you the fuel to be able to use its following effect. And if we pair this with a card like say Esper Sisters, and we look at what Esper Sisters does, Esper Sisters allows us to dig 7 cards. Yes, 7 cards deep to net ourselves up to 2 cards, 1 Fubuki and 1 Tatsumaki to be able to add to our hand to be able to use. And as you know, there's no downfall to it, so we don't have to sit here and pitch a card into our sideline. No, we can potentially grab up to 2 cards to even further refill our hand or grab key pieces that we need to be able to rebuild. Because that's the most important thing when going against high removal decks is being able to rebuild your board. But that's only 2 of these cards here. If we go and we add in the Hellas Blizzard to the mix, and specifically the 3 cost one, this card once played is able to dig 4 cards deep to be able to find any event card that you may need. So if you are looking for answers and you happen to come across your Esper Sisters, you happen to come across your Hero, you are able to find these answers with this Hellas Blizzard right here, or additionally with this Hellas Blizzard right here to be able to dig for answers to be able to try to rebuild your board. And obviously, we know what Hero does. It's your restand AP card we always play for, especially in an event-focused deck at this one. We want to be able to play 4 of our cards to be able to find them effectively and reuse them effectively to be able to utilize this deck to the max potential. And to tie it all off, if we add the Terrible Tornado to the mix, she just lets you cast cards for free. So being able to cast cards for free is basically netting an additional action point that we're able to use in our plays to be able to rebuild our entire board, to be able to come back stronger and be able to bounce back and take on your opponent for the next wave after they use their initial removal. Because if I remember correctly, a lot of these cards today, a lot of these top decks don't really have a reoccurring removal other than Roy Mustang, that is, because they can just continue to remove things all day, every day. But even so, we have the answers to be able to rebuild our board and to be able to compete with it.
All right, now that we were able to go over of how resilient this deck is and how good it is able to rebuild against our opponent, now let's jump into the other aspect of competing against like higher tier meta decks, is the capability of being able to not only slow down your opponent, but to also keep pace with your opponent. So if we talk about keeping pace with our opponent, we need to be aggressive, and essentially we want to try to be aggressive in the early game, which of course is going to be the first 3 to 4 turns. We want to be aggressive, and we want to be, if we can, of course, and we want to try to at least try to get that extra 1 or 2 damage. If we can able to get that damage due to be able to give us that little bit of edge when we're trying to close out our matches later on during the match. Hence why we want to be able to play, of course, the Tatsumaki or Terrible Tornado that has step. So if we're able to open with this card, or even able to open up with multiple 0-drops in our hand, there's nothing wrong with, like, say, playing this Tatsumaki, and then once it switches to active, move it up to the front line, specifically this one, and to be able to go in and swing for damage, just to be able to move it back and continue to fuel energy for our later plays. Obviously, of course, if we open up a hand with, let's, like, say, 2 zeros, 1 drop, or like say 3 zeros and 1 drop, or 2 drop, anything of the matter, that gives us more of the opportunity to be able to push our cards up to be able to score that extra bit of damage. And one thing that I've learned, especially specifically against the Kenshin matchup, you want to try to get in damage wherever you can, and adopting that mindset against Kenshin and implementing that into my gameplay and to my playstyle against other matchups has really helped me a lot to be able to score in that additional damage, where otherwise I would have said, hey, I'm just going to take the time to refill, to fill up my energy line to start playing my junk. No, I want to try to go in if I can in the early game, try to get that extra 1 or 2 damage in. So going into, like, say, the other aspect of just us slowing down our opponent, you'll notice that I have made one distinct change, and that is that I went from originally playing 2 copies of I Merely Immobilize Them and to 4 copies of I Merely Immobilize Them. Everything else in the deck is pretty much the same. This is the only main difference that I made from the previous deck profile, which of course I was running 2 copies of the Blizzard Bunch. Now, originally I was running the Blizzard Bunch because I love the fact that, one, it came into the field active, but it also allowed me to tap it or switch it to resting when I use an event card and bump my entire front line by 1k. Even though it was a good ability, it had a few shortcomings. One of them being is that it was a site card and not an event card. And especially in a event heavy deck and with a lot of cards that I essentially search for event cards, I want to be able to see my event cards a lot more likely than my site cards. I don't mind starting to turn with the site in hand, or maybe drawing into a site, or maybe even having a site from life, but when I'm looking for stuff, I am primarily looking for either my character cards, or more likelihood my event cards. And that's where me adding in 2 more copies of Amelia Immobilize Them make just such a huge difference, is because of the fact that just adding these 2 extra cards, I am less likely to whiff after like 3-cost Hellish Blizzard or my 1-drop Hellish Blizzard, even though I have to send an event card to the graveyard if I'm using the 1-drop Hellish Blizzard. But the fact that I'm able to see this card more effectively and use it speaks volumes, and it's a tremendous help to the game plan. Now, going into what the game plan is, of course, if we look at what Merely Immobilizes Them do, if you control both a Fubuki and a Tatsumaki, Terrible Tornado and Hellish Blizzard, for those of you who know, you are not only able to rest the character on your enemy's front line, but they stay rested the next time they be switched to active. This is going to be a key card that's going to be coming to play, especially into those rush down decks, to be able to keep them stagnant long enough for you to buy that extra turn, to be able to grab exactly what you need to try to take these games away from them. And because we want to try to rest our opponent's characters, we want to try to be able to find this card as quickly as utterly possible. And how do we find that card? By playing cards like, say, the Raid Fubuki, the Search Fubuki, and the other 2 Search Fubukis, to be able to locate and to discover where these cards are. And of course, this Fubuki. So essentially, all our Fubukis play a role in helping us search and locate this specific card right here to be able to slow down our opponent. Obviously, of course, we have Psychic Power, which is our generic kill spell for the deck that we want to be able to search for as well. But this is an additional aspect to help us to be able to slow down opponents, because unlike a lot of removal decks, we don't really have removal like that in our deck. Other than our 4 kill cards right here, I Merely Immobilize Them is pretty much our second form of removal in the deck. And we have to utilize it to our best ability, and utilize, say, hey, this is another tool for me to get rid of your opponent long enough to be able to provide a countermeasure or a counterplay to pressure them down and force them into a situation where they're not swinging all willy-nilly. So hence why we're going to be playing 4 of I Merely Immobilize Them versus 2 of them and the Blizzard Bunch. So this is what really, what I feel as though is what this deck is going to revolve around, and what this deck really excels in, to be able to keep with these high-powered decks. Now, obviously, if we're going over a couple of other little tech cards as well, is that, of course, we all know Kenshin is in the format, and we don't know what's going to happen You already know I want cards to be hit. I'm not going to sit here and deny it, but of course, like I said, there's other alternatives that we have through everybody in the comments and everybody says. So there's other alternatives that we can have. Best of threes, not positionally hitting the kitchen, but hitting the Karu that draws the card instead. So there's a lot of different ways that we can do, or like I said, just make it a best of three, and we just maybe have to just buckle down and just get good and actually have to start playing against these decks. So this is my answer to how to be able to compete with this deck to be able to beat it. Because of course, if you want to beat the best, you gotta. If you want to be the best, you gotta beat the best. And we know what's going to be at the meta, and we know what's going to be what people are going to be rocking. So we have to be able to prepare for it and be able to, and be ready for whatever it throws against us. And in addition to that, I just also want to throw in a little bit of additional tech in here, and specifically into the Hellish Blister. So we know that all of our Hellish Blisters are capable of drawing cards and filtering through our deck really, really good. One thing that we have to remember, and that I want everybody to remember with this card, is that in addition to be able to discard 2 cards to grab any event card from the sideline, you can also discard 2 cards to buff not only this Fubuki, but all over other characters on your front line by 1k BP. That effect is very important and to be remembered and to keep in your back pocket. Long story short, I was playing in a local tournament. We were in the final round. Both of us was undefeated, and it really came down to the fact that I legit thought that this person's Fubuki's buff effect only buffed herself. All right, yep. Y'all already know I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh player. I don't read my cards, and if I had just read that card at that specific moment, I would have realized that, hey, it buffs all my characters. So this would have been a 4K to be able to swing it to their 4Ks, because they were only at like 3 or 2 life anyway, leaving them no choice but to actually block, diminishing their defenses and buying me that extra turn that I needed, which oddly enough, I needed that extra turn to be able to draw the exact card I need to be able to win the game. So that's a little quick note right here that you want to have with this card. In addition to that, I said this in a very earlier video earlier in our career on YouTube with DJR Union, but also if you're gonna raid, understand you don't have to raid and move it to the front line, especially if you're trying to reserve on energy. And a good friend of mine at the shop, his name is Mike. You probably seen him in one of our earlier videos with Chris Tucker, Shout Tucker I should say. This isn't rush hour, but he made a really good point in stating that you want to at least have 3 energy ready on your back line. With the exception of Let's Go and Esper Sisters, all your other event cards and a good variety of your utility cards are 3 energy. And to starve yourself out of that energy is going to be very hurtful when you go into your follow-up play. So with that, if you do reveal from life a raid card and it happens to be this Fubuki, play it onto the back line, but don't move it up unless you absolutely have to, because you still get the draw too. You still get the draw too. You get to see on your additional draw on what you have, and then you can make the additional decision of, do I want to move this to the front line and start rebuilding my back line if I can rebuild it, or do I want to keep it on the back line to help rebuild myself to be able to get back into this match. So this is a nice little note that you want to keep in mind, especially when you're going to be competing at this regional level or even at your local tournaments, because at the end of the day, when you're competing against these high tier decks, every little aspect matters. You don't realize it, but knowing what your cards do and knowing every step of the way to it, it's going to push you, take you a long way, and it's going to push you from being just a local tier to a regional tier at that point, because you understand what your cards do. And that's the same thing with Let's Go. That's why I always keep it in this deck as a 2-up, because this, again, learning from Mike at the shop, this is a key tech. This is the card that you use to close. To me, this is a closeout card. This is a card that's saying, hey, I need to get 2-1 damage through to be able to kill my opponent. You're going to use this card to close it out, because one, it's discard fodder for the early game, because it's going to help you in the later game, especially if you have multiple Fubukis on the field, especially if they're on their front line. Because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to activate this Fubuki's effect. Oops. I'm going to activate this Fubuki's effect. Get back, Let's Go, play it, buff him. If I have another Fubuki, use this effect, grab Let's Go, play it, boom. If I have a terrible tornado on the field, I happen to get a terrible tornado on the field, I'm gonna play this card, gives an impact, boom, swinging. Or if I have another Fubuki on the field that's not the Raid Fubuki, but I do activate Raid Fubuki's effect, give it to this one. Boom. It has impact. See, so these are different aspects of the decks that we really want to capitalize on and really want to focus on, because these little key details is what's going to help us this is what's going to help us be able to take these matches against these top tier decks. Because like I said, I still consider a Esper Sisters a very strong top tier S tier deck because of the versatility to be able to shift and to be able to handle different situations once you understand what the deck is capable of doing. And before I also forget, how can I always forget, you have your protection. So you also have protection in addition to your cards, so that way you know that your enemy is going to target this Fubuki and get rid of it. This Tatsumaki is going to protect it because they have to target your Tatsumaki first before they can get to your Fubuki. And that's going to be mega important because that's going to make a break, because of course your opponent got to pay taxes now. They got to pay taxes to get rid of this one before they can start targeting this one. So like I said before, this just boils down to, like, say, this is what you need to do and this is what you need to be able to prepare for, because you not only do you need to be able to rebuild and be resilient against your opponent's removal, you also be quick or prepared enough to be able to slow them down, so that way you have enough time to take away that match.
And there you have it. Hopefully you are able to take something away from this video to not only incorporate it in your Esper Sister deck, but also into your yellow Saitama deck as well, to give you a little bit more of that edge to be able to take those games, able to get higher on the leaderboards in the next regional tournament, or even in your local tournaments as well. And before we close out the video, I also wanted to do a huge, and I mean a huge shout out to Asta Unshuffle for being our 400 subscriber. We really do appreciate you tuning into the channel and tuning into what we have to offer, and we really hope that you continue to be with us, as well as many other people who are currently subscribed to us, to continue with us along this journey to not only reach 500 subscribers, but to also reach to 1,000 subscribers, and so on and so forth. This has been an amazing road for us. It has not been an easy road. There's been some ups, there have been some downs, but we continue to give it our all, so that way we can bring you guys some good content that you guys can sit back and enjoy, or even listen to on your way to work. So with that being the case, I've been R from DJRU, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day.